Welcome back, brother. Here I have a video titled Broke, Single, and Almost 50. Don't beat yourself up. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Peace. So this is a message mainly to my single brothers out there, single men. I don't want you to be too hard on yourself. That's not to mean that you just wallow and just sulk in your situation, but I don't want you to be too hard on yourself. I don't want you to be too hard on yourself, and this is why. First of all, you can't compare yourself to married men. If you're married, cool. But as a single man, if a man has a wife that's worth anything, even if she's a stay-at-home wife and he does all the work, that's a huge help. So if he has a decent woman that stays at home while he's out there grinding, and just for the simple fact that he could have food cooked when he got home, if you have to work 12, 13 hour, 14-hour days to grind and get it, and you don't have to worry about what you're gonna eat when you get home. Maybe the your apartment is clean, your clothes is clean. You just got somebody to help you do daily chores and run around and daily run around. That's a huge benefit.
Yo, and that's facts, especially guys who are working hard 10 hours, 12 hours. You know that, bro. It's like, when you get home, you're supposed to put your clothes in the dirty basket or the hamper. And then as it piles up, go do your laundry after a while. You're supposed to have things clean. You're supposed to have your meals cooked. Bro, when you're working out hard, bro, it's very natural for you just to throw your clothes on the floor. You know what I'm saying? On the way home, pick up something fast food or something of that. Like it's just natural because again, going out of your way to make sure everything is clean, having the clothes washed, having the food. There are like very few people, humans, that can maintain that over a long period of time. And having that person at home, having your meals cooked, washing your clothes, ironing your clothes, and trust me, they exist out there. It's such a huge help. And the thing about it is, right? So like my girl, she cooks, she does the whole nine, right? And so when she was cooking, I said, "Do you know the macros to that?" And she's like, "What are macros?" And so I'm like, "Okay, she needs to be educated on what this is." So not only am I getting cooked for, but the food that she's making is macro friendly. So I invested in her. I bought her a book, a health book, which she read, and now she understands macros. So when she makes food, she's like, okay, let me make sure I don't put too much oil in this, or let me weigh out this food so I can know how many grams is it. Like again, it's like this one of those things that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's such a huge benefit when you don't have to go through life alone and you could pick up the weaknesses that you have. It's such a huge help, man.
You know, the name of this channel is Seek Wise Counsel, and Wise Counsel says that a man should find a wife, and if he finds a wife, he finds a good thing.
And again, when I talk to men, just them finding a partner or finding a wife or significant other, whatever it is you want to call it, they are not prioritizing that. That is a problem, bro. There should be somewhere in your goals, in your notes, that says, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is the type of woman that I'm looking for. This is how she can help me. This is the vision that I want to create for us. And that's how you should date. Again, most men spend the majority of their time, if they decide to date, finding non-good girls because they just want to sleep with these girls. And again, a woman who just wants to be slept with is completely different from somebody who wants to be a wife or wants to be a mother. And so if you're a guy and you have family, I was gonna say affirmations, that's not the word, aspirations. If you have family aspirations, you have to have that role written out. You have to understand what you're looking for. That way you can communicate that to potential partners, and the potential partners like, boom, this is the exact man that I'm looking for. When I was heavy on the dating scene and I would lay out what it is that I'm looking for, every woman who had potential to fill that role, they say it's been so long since I've met a man who understands and knows what he wants. So just having a clear vision like that is already putting you way above other men.
A wife, mind you. Every woman is not a wife. every girlfriend that you have, every woman that you come across right now is not meant to be your wife. And this is a big reason why a lot of us in the situation that I'm in today, why I'm making a video like this, talking about being broke and almost 50 years old. Now, broke, I got a few dollars, okay? But guess what? If I had a financial emergency right now, I can't cover it. And in a lot of cases, brothers, we are the sum total of our choices in life. Now, in my situation, in my case, and sometimes, hey, you know, you can't always play it safe. I was not the play it safe type of brother growing up. What did I mean? What do I mean by that? That means I took I took calculated risks as far as my employment goes. I learned earlier in life that the 9 to 5 job really wasn't for me. That's what I'm doing now because that's the situation that I'm in. And if you find yourself in that situation, stick it out. Stay there until you can figure out how to do something else. But I had a stable career. I had a good job. I was doing IT. I was making decent money in my mid-20s. But that lifestyle, that office environment, that corporate America lifestyle, I knew early on it wasn't for me. So I started my own business. I started a carpet cleaning business and I did well. But like I said, the choices that you make can end up affecting you down the long run in ways that you don't know. Now fast forward to about a little more than 10 years ago, I shut down a successful moving business. I got married, but guess what? Guess whose fault it was? Mine. Because God hold man responsible for man choices. It don't matter what your woman do. This channel is Seek Wise Counsel. So this channel is going to be, the content on this channel, I'm always going to go back to the wisdom of the book, the wisdom of the Bible, the wisdom of Solomon, the richest man, the richest brother that ever lived, King Solomon. And then when he reflected back on all his wealth, he said, you know what? It ain't about nothing. And he made bad choices, terrible choices, based on his affinity for women.
And that's a lesson in itself, right? Whether you believe in the Bible or not, whenever he's talking about the great wealth of Solomon, all I hear, and the same thing for him, all I'm hearing is I didn't reinvest that money into my family and into my community. Most men who have any type of substantial wealth, I never see them talk about reinvesting it into their family or reinvesting it into the community. I'm seeing the Lamborghinis, I'm seeing the Rolls Royces, I'm seeing the penthouses, I'm seeing the toys, I'm seeing the ladies of the nights, the 304s, the fake friends. I see all of these things, but I never see a person says, "Yeah, I invest that into my family. Yeah, I invest that into my community." I don't see it. And I think that's where the average person goes wrong, is because they, again, and I said this in one of my last videos, if when you have money, you start living the lifestyle that a 16-year-old dreams about, you might be on the wrong path. You see what I'm saying? It's like and again, I understand why a person would do it, but at the same time, it's like once you reach that point, you have to graduate, level up, get to that next level and say, okay, all of this money is great. However, it's for my family, or however, it's for my community. And a lot of people just skip that part because, again, it's not as explosive as, buying a Lamborghini, driving at 80, 120 miles an hour down the highway, right? Buying all these toys, sleeping with all these girls. It's not as exciting. But again, are we looking for excitement to where it's up and down, or are we looking for consistent fulfillment? And consistent fulfillment comes from reinvesting that into the family and reinvesting that into the community.
1,000 wives? Come on now. You know that ain't nothing but trouble. We can't even deal with. We can't even handle one. This brother had 1,000 of them, and it ended up being that when he made the decision to get all them wives, that's when his life did like that.
And I will say this: I know of it, and if you're like a Bible expert, please put this in the comments to correct both of us. I don't think it was having the 1,000 wives that ruined Solomon. It was the following of the teaching of those women that ruined Solomon.
So if you find yourself broke, um, and hopefully you're younger, hopefully this video you come across this video and you might be in your 20s. Well, if you in your 20s and you broke, I don't really even consider that broke. Because that's the stage of your life where you're supposed to be trying to figure this whole thing out anyway. You might just be getting out of college and you broke. So don't worry about that. Like I said, we have a bad habit. We tend to compare ourselves to other people. When for one, you can't do that because you don't even know what they got going on behind closed doors. Right? That's just one. Again, a single brother comparing himself to a married man, that's not a true comparison either. Now, you could be a brother that chooses to go that traditional career path. Well, there's a little bit of stability in that. But guess what? Even now, right, with the cost of gas, cars, groceries, rent, everything else, look, somebody's going to be a casualty of all of this, right? And I'm not.
And let me say this: when it comes to that comparison thing, as I get older, the more that I'm stepping into my manhood, the more that I'm realizing the types of people that are around me. And that tells me that not only am I not going to compare myself to other people, the only people I'm comparing myself to are the people who want the same things that I want. Those are the people who I'm like, I want to look at. I want to study what actions are you taking because of you want the same thing that I want. I need to know your strategy, or I want to know your strategy. But at the end of the day, the only person you should be comparing yourself to is the person who you were yesterday. That's the only person you should be comparing yourself to, because we all want different things. And because we all want different things, we all have different motives to get those things. Does that make sense? When I hear him and like other people talk about having a job and stability and all this other things, guys, if you're a person that you're trying to really get to that next level, you consistently have to ask yourself, what does that next level look like? So if you're in a 9 to 5 job, there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5 job, but you have to ask yourself, what's the next level of that? Is the next level of that staying in this for 30 years and investing in the stock market? Is it staying in this until I'm able to get the startup cost to open my own service-based business? Is it startup cost so I can learn a new skill and take it online? What's the next level look like? What's the next level look like? Because I can guarantee you, if you broke that down enough, it's going to have a dollar sign next to it. It's going to cost $3,000. $5,000, $10,000. And that's when you're playing the game to say, okay, let me make sure I reduce my expenses so I can start to save up for the next level and then play on that level.
Saying that you should stay there where you at and just accept your circumstances and your situation. But look, there's going to be casualties as we get closer to the end. There's going to be casualties. Men are going to fall by the wayside just simply because of the situation.
And let me say this is going to sound cold. You got to leave them behind. We're all running this race. You understand? We're all running this race. That was the first thing that you ever did before you were born. When you were a little egg out inside your father's eggs. As soon as you got shot out, it was gone. Off to the races. You couldn't worry about the people who were falling off by the wayside behind you. That's not how this works. You understand what I'm saying? We're grown adults at the end of the day. We have to worry about ourselves. We have to worry about yourself, then worry about your family, then you can worry about your community, and then worry about your culture. But most people are worried about their community and worried about their culture, but they're not even taking care of themselves. They're not even taking care of their family. So whenever you see people fall by the wayside, I know that you may feel that you want to go back and reach for that person, but again, most of the time those people are only going to pull you down. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, they would replace you with them. meaning that they will help you fall down so they could win. And then if you were in that situation, they wouldn't reach their hand back for you. And so another thing is most guys use helping people as an excuse. Oh no, I gotta help this person. Oh, I have to be a martyr. I have to be a sacrifice. No, you just don't want to take responsibility for the success that you're going to have. You don't want to take responsibility and say, like, okay, I need to wake up and be disciplined every day. That's what's really going on. And you're using helping people as a noble cause. You guys can't see my air quotes, a noble cause. But the reality of the situation is that's just a lack of self love, a lack of self respect. You would rather help somebody else than help yourself.
We cannot, our ability to provide like we used to provide has been compromised.
What's the solution? I will no longer be on this woe is me stuff. What's the solution? What are the solutions? Let's create a brain dump. Okay, I'm tired of people complaining about these things. I understand that it's hard. I get it, bro. But at the same time, there's always a solution, and sitting in the problem isn't going to help us get to the solution. In fact, what it does is it just validates the lazy mentality that's growing that says, hey, listen, we may not be able to outwork it, but there is something that we can do. There's something that we can pivot. There's something that we can learn in order to make this happen.
It didn't used to be this way. You could make, I don't know, you could make $40,000, $45,000. Now, you wasn't balling out of control, but you could afford a decent apartment. Not too long ago, you could afford a decent apartment. You could have a little bit of money left over to go on vacation once a year. And this was in your lifetime. If you're listening to this video, this was in your lifetime. We're not there anymore. So that's what I'm saying. Like, look, don't beat yourself down and go into states of depression. If you're basing your life based on what you see on this platform, what you think everybody's living this life. B, you comparing yourself to married men, or even a man that's living with his girl, living off his girl, however you want to put it. And C, maybe you ain't even 30 years old yet. Look, life is like this, right? I wasn't always at this place. I had a thriving moving business. Now, I wasn't a millionaire, but I was well into the six figures. I made bad choices, but at the end of the day, you know, I realized that I am where I'm at. One, because my choices, but two, like, you know, God puts you in certain places. God puts you in places to show you something, to show you things. He'll break you down to your socks to say, look, what you gonna do now? And when I say God, I need y'all to understand something. You know, this is a subject for another video, but I'm not talking about the traditional views that people have in church. Okay? That's just one thing. We'll get to that in other videos. But back to the subject, like, being broke at 48 years old is a very, very, it can be, it's some rough days, bro. I have some dark days dealing with what I'm dealing with. Single, no money in the bank for retirement. I'm getting closer and closer to that age. But look, each day, the book say, every day is the evil of today. That's enough. Don't even worry about tomorrow. You need to take care of today. So the first step is, look, stop. Don't make, it's okay to plan, right? It's okay to plan for the future, but some things you can't plan for. I give you a perfect example, and then I'm gonna end this. I give you a perfect example. I'm getting on my feet. Credit back up in the 700s. Paying off some debt. You know, Had to hit the reset button on a few things. Things are starting to financially start to maybe slightly turn around. Get a letter in the mail. Wage garnishment. What? What is this? Open it up. It's from 2016. I'm not even sure if it's mine. I'm looking at it like, what is this? It's always something, bro. And that was from a situation, 2016, I was married. So I was like, yeah, it probably is. I was racking up debt, being a fool. You know what I mean? So don't be too hard on yourself. Take me as an example that you need to make wise decisions. Try to make wise decisions in your 20s. And even if you do that, you can't predict life. Nobody would have predicted. Nobody could foresee. Now, if you got a little wisdom, which I didn't, but if you got a little wisdom, you know, as time progresses, things only are going to get worse as we come towards the end of this thing. Things are only going to get worse. So you kind of, just in knowing that, right? Just in knowing that things are going to progressively get worse, you can kind of plan. You can kind of.
And you have, and this is one of those things where when I listen to people, once they start talking like this, I start to tune them out, because you got to understand something. That's his worldview. His worldview is things are going to get worse. So where do you think his brain is going to lead him to if he's thinking that things are going to get worse? Because if that is true, let's say that's true, that means the opposite is true as well. That means there are people out there who their lives are going to get better, a lot better, and it's going to continue to get better, wrong or right. Okay, these are just basic spiritual principles. And so when I listen to something like that, I immediately like make a conscious decision to say, that's not my worldview. That's not who I'm focusing on. I feel for the brother, that's him. But for me, things are only moving up from here. And that's the mentality that I carry with me. Now, again, that's not being naive and saying nothing ever bad is going to happen. But at the same time, the dominant thought in my mind is going to be things are going to be better.
Figure out how to move and have foresight, vision on what's going to happen. I get mine from the book. How you get yours, I don't know. But you should at least know this. Things ain't getting no better. And you know that. You can see that. Yeah, some things might get better in certain regards, but if you look at just from your life, you're probably younger than me. If you look at just in your life, the trajectory of things. People say technology, things have gotten better. Has it? Society as a whole has been doing this. So you can plan around that. You can make decisions based on that. And one of the most important things, one of the most important decisions that a man will ever make in his life is the woman that he chooses to be by his side. And I'll elaborate on that in the next video.
That's going to be into his video. So I do want to say this, right? Because you're seeing a lot of this right now. A lot of people have the fear like, oh my God, look, the population is declining and all these things are going to happen. Bro, literally like 30, 40 years ago, people were worried about there's too many people, overpopulation. If you've been alive long enough, you know they were talking about, oh, there's going to be too many people. There's not going to be enough land or enough food or enough what. But bro, stop listening to the fears that people have. People aren't focusing on their own goals and trying to make it happen. They just want to waste time. And when you get bored enough, you're going to be thinking of anything and everything and running with it. And now imagine if you're bored and you have this fear-based mentality and you find a group of other people who have this fear-based mentality. It's just going to be a nonstop feedback loop, bro. Understand something. The way I look at it is, if population isn't declining in the way that it's something that should be something you should be scared of. If anything, it's just readjusting. When I see a bunch of people having babies, that's simply because we need those babies to replace the old workers. But what happens when AI starts to take over and it takes 80% of the jobs? Do we need those people? No. So I'm looking at that like, yeah, of course, the humanity as a species is adjusting to what is going on in our current world, and the current world is telling us, is pointing it to us and saying, listen, there's going to be some changes, and we're not going to need as many people that we have currently. But I also see that, listen, there's going to be people who have resources and people who do not have resources. And so for me, planning for the future, I want to make sure that I'm a person that has those resources or has access to those resources. So that's going to be today's video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like the video if you like the video. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right. Peace out.